Hello guys, this is Sean S. here, and before I start the review, I would like to warn you about one of these reviews. If I'm reviewing a cartoon or something, there will be major spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode or the episodes I'm going to be reviewing for my Drake and Josh project, I set a link down in the description down below to watch cartoons online, so just a heads up. With all that said, let's begin. Hello guys, this is Sean S. here, and welcome to my first ever Pieguyrulz inspired review. Today, I'm going to do a review on every single episode of Drake and Josh ever. I've been waiting for a very, very long time to do this, ever since November of 2015 came around. Before I got the idea to review Drake and Josh, I originally wanted to do iCarly first before Sam and Cat, but I guess iCarly is gonna have to wait until I'm done reviewing Drake and Josh. Here are the ratings. Good episode, meaning that the episode is well good. Okay episode, meaning that the episode is okay. And last but not least, Steak and Smush episode, meaning that the episode is bad. Oh, and one last thing. This is not trying to rip off Pieguyrulz. This may be an inspiration, but it's not ripping off. As long as I'm not reviewing SpongeBob, then it's not ripping off. Anyways, with all that said, let's start the review. Episode 1, Pilot. Drake and Josh become stepbrothers. Fun fact. This episode and Dune Buggy are the only Season 1 episodes to air as of 2012. Anyways, my favorite part is the hot sauce scene. For a first episode of the series, this is really good. It's a great introduction to the characters. There's a lot of good jokes here, like Drake being in shock that Walter and Audrey are getting married. Drake writing a song called I Don't Want to Be Stepbrothers with Josh. The janitor's poem, The Toilet Don't Soil It. Drake saying, now it's my turn to throw up. The line, lamps don't think that fast. Let's not forget to mention the hot sauce scene. That made me laugh my butt off. I couldn't stop laughing at that scene. You gotta see that scene to believe it. Links down in the description down below to watch cartoons online. Oh, and by the way, that guy that teached Josh karate, we never see him again after this episode. But anyways, other than the funny moments, this episode also balances heartwarming moments as well. In the ending, when Josh actually tries to beat Buck, but he gets beaten up in the process, Josh is actually enraged because Drake actually hid his Miss Nancy costume. And in the ending, Josh actually is accepted by his own brother to be his own brother. Then they hug in the end. So yeah, this episode is funny, heartwarming, and a really good introduction to these characters. Episode 2, Dune Buggy. Drake and Josh receive a broken down dune buggy from Trevor, but are forbidden by their parents to drive it. Fun fact. Taron Killam guest starred in this episode as Trevor. Trevor is that guy who appeared in the beginning of the episode to give the dune buggy to Drake and Josh. And Trevor's first appearance got a hearty laugh out of me. It turns out that he was looking at the backyard all this time. My favorite part in the episode is Drake getting punished in the end. He actually got a deserved punishment in the end for not only disobeying his parents' orders, but also teaching Josh into lying. However, if Drake is really grounded, then why did he get pizza in the end? This is actually pretty similar to Kid Grounded from Henry Danger, where Henry gets grounded, yet he's still allowed to talk to his friends. Even if there was some goofs in this episode, it is still a good episode. Although this episode was pretty close in being okay. Even if Drake did get punished in the end, he still gets to have pizza, and Josh now has to serve Drake until he feels better. But thanks to the funny jokes and Drake getting punished in the end, this is actually a good episode. Episode 3, Believe Me Brother. Megan films sheepish shots of Drake and Josh while Susan, Ashley Drain, Drake's new girlfriend, flirts with Josh. Fun fact, this episode is episode 2 on Amazon for some reason. My favorite part in this entire episode is the ending. I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is a fantastic episode. This is definitely a good episode. Why, you may ask? Because just like in the pilot episode, it mixes funny moments with heartwarming moments. For the funny moments, in the beginning, Josh said, I wonder where our pizza is. And then Drake is like, I cannot believe I ate an entire pizza. Drake saying, 'cause she's pretty. And after Josh just says, fine, then Drake says, I think you're pretty too. And plus, this is the first time where Drake and Josh say their famous quote, Megan. Then there's the part where Megan films Josh in the bathtub. That was really hilarious. After Josh gets out of the bathtub, I think there was supposed to be a fourth wall reference where Josh was dancing to the music. I think that was. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a fourth wall reference. Another funny thing about this episode is when Josh makes up a Miss Nancy advice that replaces the word Susan with Poozin. Then there's Megan filming Drake looking at himself in the mirror. And now let's get on to the main attraction for this episode. Is this episode a Josh torture porn? Well, maybe. But at the same time, it actually works, because Susan is the villain in this episode. Susan actually makes it look like Josh is in love with her. Susan tries to make Drake think that Josh is in love with her by having Josh kiss her, and then blaming it on Josh, saying that Josh kissed her. Then by Susan giving him flowers and blaming Josh for trying to give her flowers. And finally, when Susan comes around, Josh makes Drake hide in the closet, and then Josh tries to get Susan to stop it, but Susan pretends that she doesn't like Josh. Drake comes out of the closet and he is fed up with Josh. But then later, Drake and Josh are at school, and then they present the video that they made, and they showed what happened earlier in the episode with Susan kissing Josh. And finally, Susan gets punished in the end of the episode. But here's my only problem with the episode. How come this episode hasn't aired in years? Episode 4. 2 Idiots and a Baby. Josh tells Walter that he and Drake will babysit his boss's son so that Walter can get a promotion. Fun fact, the title is a spoof of the movie 3 Men and a Baby. My favorite part is the band and Drake and Josh smelling the baby's diaper, and after Josh smells the diaper, he faints. So, is this episode as cute as a baby, or is it as stinky as a diaper? This episode is okay. There isn't anything horrible about the episode, like, when they were about to change the diaper. They don't really show anything that vomit-inducing. I mean, sure, there was the part where Drake and Josh and Megan were in the kitchen, but that was the only disgusting thing about the episode. Everything else in the episode is pretty bland and forgettable. There's just not that much for me to say about this episode, other than the fact that it's bland and forgettable. Also, there was one part where Josh said that he didn't know how to play the guitar. I think that was foreshadowing for the very next episode. Episode 5, First Crush. Josh gets his first crush on Kathy while trying to impress her, but he accidentally tells her that he can play the guitar, but he really can't. Fun fact, Erin Chambers guest starred in this episode as Kathy. Anyways, my favorite part is the Find a Way song in this episode. It's actually surprising to hear that in an episode and not just in the intro. Kathy is Josh's love interest that appeared in this episode. Just like Trevor from the second episode and the guy who teach Josh karate in the first episode, we never see Kathy again after this episode. In fact, a lot of characters disappear after this episode. What, did they move to another school or something? But on to the episode itself, I think it's a good episode. Although, to be honest, just like Two Idiots and a Baby, I don't really have that much to say about it, other than the fact that I feel happy for Josh. There are funny jokes like Drake pretending to be Kathy, and the Find a Way song that plays in this episode. Episode 6, Grammy. When Megan, Audrey, and Walter leave the house for the weekend, Drake and Josh's dreams of a parent-free weekend are dashed when Josh's grandmother and Walter's mom, Randy Heller, comes to babysit. Fun fact, Grammy is played by Randy Heller, who also guest starred in Alf. My favorite part of the episode is the ending, when Grammy actually gives Drake his $20 back. To be honest, in the beginning of this episode, Josh's Grammy is really horrible towards Drake. Like, at the beginning of this episode, Josh's Grammy does not give Drake a good present at all. I mean, all she gives Drake is a free haircut thing. And in the first few minutes, Josh's Grammy puts a note on Drake's back saying, "Lazy punk." But Josh's Grammy is redeemed by not only doing something nice for Drake in the end, but how much she is really awesome in this episode. I don't know how, but she managed to beat Drake at basketball. I think this episode is definitely a good episode. However, there's one problem that I have with this episode. Much like in every other episode this season, minor characters disappear. Although, to be honest, there is a reason why Drake's band disappeared after this episode. Because they used fake tickets to go to that concert that Drake was not allowed to go to. And as Drake, Josh, and Grammy were exiting the office, the band is still there, so they must have gone to jail. But there's no logical explanation why Grammy disappeared after this episode. I mean, sure, she was going somewhere after this episode, but she never appears again after this one, which is pretty sad because she is an awesome character. But nonetheless, this is still a good episode, and a fantastic way to end Season 1. And that is every episode of Drake and Josh Season 1 reviewed. So let's take a look at our status for the season. So we have 5 good episodes, 1 okay episode, and no steak and smush episodes. From what you heard from the status for the season, I think it's pretty safe to say that Season 1 is indeed a good season. Because not only is almost every episode of this season indeed good, a lot of them pulled off some really hilarious jokes every second. I mean, wow. This is the first time I laughed this hard at a sitcom since Full House. Before we get on to notes, I'm going to count down my top 6 worst to best of the season. I always wanted to do this since I started this entire review, so without further ado, let's begin. Number 6, Two Idiots and a Baby. It's not that I hate this episode, really, but it's just that this episode was pretty bland and forgettable. And plus, this episode doesn't have the funny jokes that other episodes this season has. Number 5, Dune Buggy. Even though this episode was a little close to being an okay episode, it's redeemed by the funny jokes that it has. And plus, Drake actually gets punished in the end. Number 4, and this is where the episodes are going to start getting really good, is First Crush. There's a lot of good things in here, like you actually feel happy for Josh. Hearing the Find a Way song in this episode, and Megan's whole snake thing. Number 3, Believe Me Brother. This episode does what future episodes would do absolutely wrong. Sure, it's a little bit of a Josh torture episode, but however, Drake actually believes Josh for what Susan has done, and Susan gets punished in the end. I wish those episodes did what Believe Me Brother has done. Yeah, we'll delve more into those episodes when we get to season 3 and 4, and trust me, they're not gonna be pretty whatsoever. Number 2, Grammy. Yeah, this episode does deserve a Grammy, am I right? And number 1 is the pilot episode. I just keep on coming back to this episode due to how absolutely hilarious this one is. I mean, this episode constantly tells funny jokes every second, and it's a great introduction to all of these characters that we came to love. Here are some notes that I absorbed from this season. There is an unaired pilot to the show. How do I know this? Well, because of the Drake and Josh wiki, and because of a user named Blame It on George. I heard that the unaired pilot shares the same connection with the actual pilot episode, so nonetheless, even if it did air or not, it would still be a good episode. Most of the episodes this season has not aired in years. Not even the great episodes like First Crush, Believe Me Brother, and Grammy have not aired in years. The camera quality in this season, at least in reruns, did not age that well. Some people might tell me, oh, it's an old sitcom, so it has the right to not age well. Well, most of the season 2 episodes aired in the exact same year as season 1. And those episodes had great camera quality. The camera quality in this season does not affect the episodes, but it just seems pretty off. And one final note that I have for this season is, of course, every minor character disappears after every episode this season. In the first episode, the guy who teaches Josh karate, he never appears after that episode. In the second episode, Trevor doesn't appear after that episode. In the third episode, Susan doesn't appear after that episode. In the fourth episode, Walter's boss doesn't appear after that episode. In the fifth episode, Kathy doesn't appear after that episode. And in the sixth episode, Drake's band, along with Josh's Grammy, does not appear after that episode. This is actually the season of every minor character disappearing after every single episode. Well, this video turned out longer than I expected it to be. I expected it to be like, 12 minutes? But no, it's actually longer than that. I'm pretty happy about that. Anyways, special thanks to Pieguyrulz for the inspiration. Special thanks to Halo Fan HP00, aka Awesome Fan 1997 for the new intro that I have. And a super extra special thanks to Watch Cartoons Online, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have found the rest of the Drake and Josh episodes that I thought I couldn't find. You know, with episodes like Really Big Shrimp or The Storm. So yeah, that was basically it. This is Sean S., and I'm signing out.